Hey, bud. We are recording this call and it'll be posted on the IEA YouTube channel later this week. So if you enjoyed what you heard and want to share it with anyone, I encourage you to do that. I'll link the YouTube page in the chat when I get done talking here. So welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. My name is Lisa Jordan. I'm the Managing Director of the IEA and I'm also the Executive Director of the Executives Association of Charlotte in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm happy to see so many of you on the call today from all over the US and hopefully Canada too. Welcome, welcome to everybody. These IEA webinars are free for you to attend and free for you to host as a member of the IEA. We offer them about once a month. So if you have a great topic that you would like to share with other like-minded business owners, then I will also put my contact information in the chat so that you can reach out to me and we can get you scheduled to host a webinar coming up soon. Before I hand things over to Adam, I also wanted to remind everybody about the annual IEA conference coming up in Detroit, September 17th through 19th. We're super excited to be partnering with the Detroit Executives Association and the Windsor Executives Association. And those chapters are only about 10 minutes apart, right across the border. And we're looking forward to a really great conference this year and would love to see many of you there, especially all these folks on the call from Akron today. You are driving distance to Detroit, so no excuse. We want to see a big Akron contingency there, I hope. So be on the lookout in your inbox for more information about the conference. Now, with that, I want to get to why you're all here today and introduce Adam Lefebvre. Adam has a passion for blending strategy, creativity, and technology, and an affinity for Hawaiian shirts. And you didn't disappoint us today, Adam. Adam leads Digital Sandwich in building
I'm a little
smart.
subdued.
Adam leads Digital Sandwich in building smart strategy, sales first, and marketing systems. Known for his curiosity and knack for hiring great talent, Adam helps businesses harness content and AI to accelerate growth. He's a proud member of the Akron Execs and serves on the board of the Greater Akron Chamber. All right, Adam, take it away.
Well, thanks for that introduction. It's always weird to hear that. Is that really me? But I appreciate it. Lisa, I do things slightly different, and I ask if there are any questions before we get started. I can't see the chat though, so if you can help me out. Yeah, I like to ask why you showed up today. What are you hoping to get out of the session? And if I can work it in, I will. And if not, we'll answer those questions at the end. Does anybody have anything specific that they're hoping to hear about today?
Yeah, so if you have something, you can put it in the chat or you can simply unmute yourself and chime in. We have a small group, just 20 of us on the call. So feel free to let us know what caught your attention about this webinar and why you wanted to join. Anybody?
Is it mostly because we're worried that the robots are going to take over completely?
Probably that.
Skynet?
Kathy says curiosity. I think it's still a relatively new topic, right? And a lot of us are just trying to learn more about it and what Tom said, the best ways to implement, right? And I feel like some of us, don't want to get left behind when it comes to new technology. And so it's important to just be a sponge around this kind of info and take it and try to apply it where you can.
Absolutely. Okay, so it sounds like folks are probably kind of just getting started, maybe utilizing AI, if at all. So I'll go ahead and try to share some scenarios of how it's already affecting you, whether you're aware or not, and then what we can do about it. So I had thought about doing trying to figure out how used to or how knowledgeable about the subject we were, but based on the question, I don't think I think I'll just get started. So First thing that we need to be aware of is I've heard people say in different meetings and different roundtables that I've been in that they're noticing a significant drop in traffic to their website. So if you're paying attention to your analytics, your Google Analytics and web visitors, whether organic or however you get traffic to the site, you are probably seeing probably roughly about 20 to 30% dip in organic traffic. That's okay. It's okay. Everyone is seeing that. And the reason for that is because we're now adapting to how folks use the internet differently. So it used to be if you did a Google search, you were given choices, right? So I'm querying landscaper near me, and I'm given choices of all the landscapers near me. And then if I go to YouTube and I do a search, I might be searching about how to do landscaping, and so I'm given answers. I'm giving a how to, and now I'm given a how to. So now with AI search and the different tools, even right inside of Google itself, you're now getting actual answers. It's not even giving you the choice until you scroll down. You're getting these AI answers without even clicking through. So Google has been moving towards something called zero click for a while, and now we're pretty much there. Where we're seeing and anticipating even 50% drops in traffic because whatever they were asking in the search is getting answered by Google on the search engine result page, or SERP for short. So the challenge is how do we adapt to new customer discovery patterns? Well, first point that I wanted to make was there is a traffic decline. And we're anticipating up to the 64%, and you can see it up in this image here up in the left, this AI overview. So I queried how to grow my small business, and it gave me the answer. It's giving me all these details, and it's pulling that in from websites. It's not even allowing you to go look at the source. It's giving you the answer right there. So we have to adapt to that. Um, Basically, you're losing traffic to your sites on top level or top of funnel type content, the basic simple stuff. And the reason I'm saying don't worry about that is because number one, everyone is experiencing that. And number two, use the time that you were using to create that type of content that was bringing that traffic in, which by the way is very low intent. The folks that are coming in off of those searches and off of those keywords really aren't in buying mode just yet. So the fact that you're losing the traffic, let's not dwell on it. Let's use that time to create better content using the very tools that are taking away this traffic to create better content. So the best way I know how to explain the scenario is, imagine you own a small landscaping company. You're used to getting regular calls and website visits from homeowners that were researching gardening tips, pricing, different ideas and services. And recently you've noticed that fewer visits and fewer calls. The reason is because of this AI powered search provides the tips directly within the search results, meaning they no longer need to click through to your website. We're going to talk about what to do about that. So the first thing would be how to adapt is use this time that you're given back to create better quality content, helpful, authentic. Mallory on my team always says, not easily searchable, content that you're not just going to find readily available in 27 different places with a Google search. Make it hyper relevant and hyper specific. The reason that we've been leery of doing that over the years is we're afraid we're going to give away trade secrets. Trust me, the
What's
information's
that?
out there. That information is out there, and it's okay to get away. People aren't going to do it. They still would have to do it. They're not going to. That's where your expertise, you're demonstrating your expertise. The next thing that we can do to kind of combat this changing strategy is diversify your channels. So it's not just about the website. It's about being on social. It's about showing up proactively, top level awareness. It's about that $49 MailChimp account that you have that you never use. Actually email people. You paid for them to be on your list at some point, somehow. Get back in front of them. You already paid to acquire that email. Make sure that we're sending them good quality, valuable information. And then also the video formats. TikTok and Reels doesn't have to be weird dance videos. It can be demonstrating your competence at what you do. When we demonstrate our competence, it makes people want to do business with us. The next thing I would say is use this time in this space to focus on storytelling. Everyone on here has a unique perspective. There's probably other marketers on here. There's people in the same industry, but we all approach it differently. And the way that we can demonstrate that we approach it differently, we don't want to just demonstrate our competence. We want to demonstrate how we are different. And the way to do that is through storytelling. And my favorite way is those simple short reels. They aren't hard to create, and you don't have to talk or do much longer than 8 to 30 seconds. So these are actually pretty simple to create. I'll give you some ideas of how to come up with ideas around that. And then Google Business Profile. There's this renewed focus on all things Google, and it is the 800-pound gorilla in the space. And we do have these other tools that are taking away from some of the search, but Google's right there with it, with everything that Google Gemini, their AI version, released last week, between video and imagery and whatever. They're not going away just because we can search inside of other tools like Perplexity and OpenAI or ChatGPT. Um, the Google Business Profile becomes extremely important because that is highly relevant. It's your Google listing. That's it. Shows up on the right hand side when you search for what it is that you do, and there's buttons there to leave a review or visit the website or call, and then there's information to read. We have to make sure that we're taking advantage of that digital real estate that Google's giving us. That is tied back to the website, and those are highly intent-based metrics. Call, get directions, visit the website. So we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of that, especially if they're not necessarily clicking through to the website. We want to make sure that when we do show up, we're showing up for the right things. I'll talk more about that in a moment. So practical steps to thrive with AI. So we know that we're losing traffic because of the AI search tools and how the historical search engines are utilizing AI differently, and how search is changing. But that we can do things to combat that and utilize the AI to enhance and make ourselves more efficient. Some of these aren't obvious. What gets all the press and all the notoriety is what we call generative AI, and that's where you get your ChatGPT free account and you say, "Hey, write me a blog article," or "Hey, I want to respond to an email," or "Hey, I need this," or "Hey, I need that." That is the most basic, simple way to utilize it. I will say we should all probably have a paid account if you're going to use it at all, because if you put any information at all into a free account, it goes in to train the model. So that data is now out in the ether. If you're paying for an account, it's only $20. We spend $20 on really dumb things. This will change your work life, I promise you, if you start utilizing it properly. Pay for it. The number one reason is because your data is protected. It's now not going into the model. That's the number one reason that you would pay for it. Now, so generative is what gets all the press, and oh, I made a weird picture, or I did this, or I was able to write an email really simply. I did a song, some new song lyrics. All that stuff is what you see on the news. But what's amazing about the AI models is the ability to research, the ability to then help you produce high quality content, by almost utilizing it as a thinking buddy or a companion, or this, somebody to bounce ideas off of. Want to think of it differently so that we can use it strategically. And then the last part is evaluation. It's amazing at evaluating something that's already been created, whether that be via image, where we just take a picture of something and say, "Hey, what is this?" Or, "Hey, how would I improve this?" Or we give it a link and say, "How would I make this better?" Or we drop analytics. I can take a screenshot of anybody that looks at their Google Analytics, can't make hide nor hair of it, right? It's a bunch of numbers. I don't know what I'm looking at. You can actually screenshot that, drop it into ChatGPT, and with some prompting, now have a conversation with your data. What's this looking like? What's working? What isn't? What do you suggest I do differently? We can absolutely use AI not just to generate new stuff, but also evaluate what's currently going on and have it help it make sense to us. So getting into research, so I'm going to talk specifically about some of the tools, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So research, I love using two tools, Perplexity and Notebook LM. Perplexity is its own thing, but it leverages one of the model. I think it uses Claude on the back end. You can just ask it a question, and it will go research it for you with. It will actually give you references, like where it found the material. So I'll show you that on the next page. Notebook LM for podcast and video insights. I use Notebook LM to do research based off of specific resources, such as a YouTube video, a podcast. I actually use it to prep for board meetings. They send over this, anybody on a board, they send over this 35-page packet, and you're supposed to go through this thing before you go to the meeting. And I'd rather, stab my eyes out with a number 2 pencil than read all of this stuff. I don't want to do that. But what I can do is utilize Notebook LM to summarize it, create a mind map for me. It's tremendous, and I'll show you more of that. Then we do have the creation tools, and I think most folks are aware of ChatGPT, maybe Claude. The one I'm using right now is called Gamma, and I'll show you how I created this very deck today using Gamma. Forget PowerPoint. Gamma is incredible. And then I'll show you how we can kind of combine some of these tools together to make your workflow extremely simple. And then your practical uses, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the uses that I do for like prep for meetings, enhance my content credibility. Notebook LM is just absolutely incredible. So on the left-hand side, you're going to see a scrolling GIF. That is a Perplexity response. I searched, what did I search?
Adam, I have a question in the chat. Do you want me to hold until the end, or you want to take them as
No,
they
go
come?
ahead. Go ahead. I'll take it.
How many different AI tools do you use for what, why, and cost? So I think you've named 3 already so far, right?
Yeah. So let me see. We use ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gamma, something called Magi, which combines all of the different LLMs so that we can query each of them differently. Gemini, which is Google's. Canva is an AI tool at this point. We use something called Octave for data enhancement. So if we're doing outbound or midbound research before we contact a prospective client or somebody that matches our ideal client profile, it gives us, we're able to enrich the contact using this tool called Octave. We use something called Clay, which pulls data from several hundred resources together. I don't want to say what we spend on AI a month. It's tremendous. But the tools I'm going over today, Notebook LM is actually a Google tool. It's included if you have Google Workspace. It's actually included. Perplexity has a free level. That if you're using it for research, you're not putting data into it, you can get away with the free level. We pay for it because it does deep research as well. Those two are really good. Gamma is super inexpensive. They might have like an $8 level or something. So if you're doing a lot of presentations, it's worth it for sure. And then OpenAI is 20 bucks, and then there's a team level as well. Start there. Start with those tools, and then see as your needs evolve. The way to think about this is you are essentially hiring a genius level intern for $20. That is what you are doing. And then as this evolves and we're able to connect it to, OpenAI just released the ability to connect different tools directly to it. So we can actually have it answer emails for us, do things on the calendar for us, schedule things right on the calendar. So as this evolves and it can engage other tools as well without having to have a coder or using some sort of an MCP server or something like that to get the tools to talk to each other, it just starts to do it natively, where you don't have to have much knowledge at all. As that continues to evolve, the use cases are going to continue to expand even further. So at the very least, $20 ChatGPT subscription, and start learning from there. But make sure you pay for it because you don't want to get the data. You don't want to give your data away. Um, so what's really cool about Perplexity is you ask a specific question, it frames the queries precisely to get the targeted answers. It's going to compare sources. Notice I hover over the citations in there. I queried it about what's the best CRM for a small business. Um, that's something like Pipedrive or HubSpot or whatever. It's how we keep our customer relations. We have all of our interactions with emails and even phone calls and such with our clients. That's the idea behind a CRM. So what's the best one? There's a million of them out there. What's the best one? I just went ahead and asked Perplexity to go do some deep research on that for me. I can export it as PDF. I can turn it into a page that I can share with the rest of the team or a client. And then if you notice at the very end of that scrolling, it has some suggested questions that you ask to further refine the information with some follow-up questions, or you can ask your own. So really, really powerful. We can, what used to take kind of hours for research now takes seconds. And I find that to be an extremely valuable use case. So you can, I spoke about Gamma, the tool that I'm using right now. It has built-in templates. It'll create the images based off the context of the words on the page. And then you can actually ask it, it'll suggest design improvements while maintaining a consistent formatting throughout. Or you can actually chat with the document and say, can you make this a little better? Or I don't like this image, or change this image to some other style. And it's a much more, it's like talking to a person that then does the work for you. I don't think it was an accident that they named it Chat GPT. The idea is to chat with it, talk to it, treat it like a human. And then what do humans need? They need more context. They need directions, right? So that will also, if you start thinking about it that way, it will change how you talk to it, which will change the output. So here's the new way to create a presentation. Do the research in Perplexity, drop that entire document or the research that it gives you into ChatGPT, ask it to give you a structured outline with clear talking points. Take that outline, drop it directly into the create new presentation from text section in Gamma, and it will create the presentation just from that. That's how I started this exact presentation. Was I got all my talking points together, and I did research in Perplexity on those talking points, expanded it out. Then I dropped it over into ChatGPT, and I said, now it's also trained on me and the company and et cetera. It knows how we talk and how we use. That's a huge piece as well. The more information you give it, the better, because then it doesn't try to fill in the gaps. The first thing it's trying to do is give you an answer, not necessarily a correct answer. So the more parameters that you give it, the more information that you give it, the less chance it has or needs to fill holes and gaps with potentially incorrect information. So I was able to do that and get my rough draft or my first draft of the presentation today in about 5 minutes. Now, I have been also compiling different points that I wanted to make for about the last 6 months as well for this particular topic because I'm doing it several times. But I already had that kind of ready to go, and then I just used the AI to help me make it make more sense and have it flow better, and then use Gamma to actually build out the presentation. So much easier than going into a blank PowerPoint and trying to figure that out from scratch. The next thing I'll talk about is Notebook LM. So Notebook LM is absolutely incredible. It's a Google product. If you just go to Notebook LM, it'll come up. If you have any sort of a Google account, you have access to at least the free version. And then again, this is something that you might think about paying for just because of the amount of research that it does. Now, what's different about Notebook LM is it is only going to reference the resources that you give it. So if you have internal documents like SOPs or any sort of PDFs, you can upload those directly. YouTube videos, you can pull YouTube videos directly into it. So one thing I like to do is I have a running notebook for the different podcasts that I listen to. So every time there's a new podcast, I pull in that episode of the podcast, and now that workbook is completely searchable for me. It creates a mind map. It creates a summary. It can do a study guide with flashcards. Here's the craziest thing that it does. It will create a podcast from all of the resources that you give it, whether that be podcast, video, PDFs, anything. It will create a two-person podcast where they are talking back and forth with each other, interview style, about the information that you just gave it. It is a way simpler and more meaningful and easier to recall way to consume content, especially if it's sort of some heady stuff. So that's exactly what I do. I get a board packet that I'm supposed to review before I go to a board meeting. I drop that information into Notebook LM. I have it create this two-person podcast thing. Crazy thing. It's a man and a woman talking to each other about the information that you just uploaded. And I listen to that on my way to the board meeting. Much better way to, and then I get there and know what in the world I'm talking about or expecting to hear about in the meeting versus sifting through 35 pages of something that I don't really, I'm going cross-eyed looking at that. I'd much rather listen to it in the car on the way. So the other thing that you can do is you can actually then query anything that's been uploaded. So if I have questions about the information or the resources that were in it, like, hey, I remember that you talked about a specific topic. Tell me everything that was in this podcast about that specific topic. It will then return the answer. The content outlines. What an interesting way this is. If you were to, let's say, if you did a podcast, upload all of your podcasts in there and then create a mind map from it. And then you could see where your gaps are. You could see what subjects you have not talked about very easily. And you can ask it, what am I missing? Based off the context of what all I'm talking about, give me 20 more ideas of what my next couple podcasts can be about. And then you can export that finished work. Whether it be the study guide, the summary, the mind map is exportable, and actually so is that MP3 of this weird podcast that gets created out of the ether. It is so like they interrupt each other even, and they'll pause. It is the strangest thing. You have to try it. It is so cool. But not just cool. It's not just a parlor trick. It really is a great way to consume some different information. Let's say that I have a certain guy that I love on YouTube, but he's hard to understand. The way he speaks isn't terribly pleasing to me. I have trouble following him, but his information is great. So I take that YouTube video, I drop it into Notebook LM, and then I have the two fake podcasters tell me what he's trying to say. It's a much easier way to consume content. This is Notebook LM, so I'll show you just how that works. Over on the left, those are the resources. Those are those sources that I pulled in. Then here is where I can click on audio overview, and it's literally going to create an audio overview. We have a paid account. There's actually interactive mode. So I can type a question while they're talking, and they'll pause as if I'm like a caller calling into their show, and they'll answer my question or they'll talk back to it's bananas. So then you can see the FAQ, the study guide, briefing doc, even timeline. And then the mind map feature is really nice. Let's say I'm trying to do a really significant research around a certain topic. I can use this to make it a whole lot easier. And then let me see, what else did I show on here? I'll probably use this. I think I'm eventually gonna I think I might eventually do a book, and this will probably be how I start it to kind of get the outline together. I'm gonna write a book for nobody to read. Okay. Let me see. It's not going. Okay. So here's another one, advanced voice mode. So ChatGPT actually has an app that you can download in the App Store. Advanced voice mode is part of it, and it's this little wave button in the bottom right of the app. Now, it's not obvious for some reason to folks that it's there. Um, I do this while I'm driving all the time. I'll click on it. Good morning, ChatGPT. Good morning, Adam. How are you today? oh, I'm fine. I've got such and such on my mind. Help me organize my thoughts. And I love I love being able to do that. I have about a 15-minute commute and I can make that efficient. I can make that usable. Sometimes I have an idea in my head, maybe for a LinkedIn post or a blog article or a meeting later, that I just want to organize my thoughts. Or I'm trying to have it help me organize my day. Here's what I've got going on. I've got this on my mind. Can you help me make sense of it? Or I want to talk through something. We love having somebody to bounce ideas off of. I drive my team nuts with trying to bounce ideas off of them all the time. So this has been helpful. I'll utilize the AI to bounce ideas off of and then ultimately organize my thoughts and then allow me to then download an outline or put some form of an action plan into place. It's so helpful. Hands free, right in the car. It's conversational. It knows what I'm saying. It talks back to me. It challenges me. It goes, well, is that really what you want to do? Or how about this? And I can come to work. I can walk in the office sort of already in work mode and with some actionable ideas ready to go. I highly recommend the advanced voice mode. So it, there is the ability to easily create content with AI as well. And I have simple prompts here. This is just to give you an idea. Prompts should not be simple. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Those are the simple ideas. It shouldn't say simple prompts. It's more simple ideas. I just want you to start thinking about what the tool can actually do. Here's a blog post. Summarize this into 5 social media posts. Here's our industry. Can you suggest trending topics? And you would do that with deep research. So it actually goes out on the web and scrapes and does that research, looks at the forums, looks at Google Trends to see what actually is happening. And then changing, repurposing certain content into other content. So I want you to write video scripts around those ideas that you just gave me, or I want you to write video scripts around this blog article that I just read, or here's a YouTube video that somebody else did. I love the content here. Can you give me 5 outlines for videos that I could make myself so that I could utilize that content as inspiration and then credit them. You can even have it help you audit the website, rewrite the homepage. I'm actually going to show you that here in a second, and replace stock photos. So now with the image creation and the video creation capabilities, there's no reason to have stock photos on your site. Either have real, actually taken professional photographs on your site, or we can actually create from text description and prompt images out of thin air that we can then replace those stock images with, and they'll be 9,000 times better than a stock image that anyone can see is stock. So crafting effective AI prompts. So on the left, as I said, we don't want these simple prompts. This is how the folks that are using ChatGPT or any of the other models are not that great at prompting. I've seen they don't realize that you can ask it questions as well. How do you write a better prompt? Ask it what information it would need to be in a prompt to get better output. Use the tool to help you use the tool. So on the left here, I have this basic prompt: review my website and give me suggestions for improvement. Well, the problem with that is it's vague direction. There's no specific audience identified. Like, we wouldn't say that to a person, would we? We would give that person much more context. What is it reviewing it against? What's the criteria for review? We wouldn't talk to a person that way, or we get very mad when they gave us the wrong answer back. But that's what we do to AI rather than giving it full context. So on the right-hand side, you can see this is a powerful prompt. In a couple components here. You are my senior conversion copywriter. Tell it who it is. Don't tell it to pretend it's somebody. You don't say act as. Tell it who it is. You'll get better results. Tell it what the goal is. The end goal is, I want a new first draft homepage for your business name, a business offering, services here, that, and then explain what the criteria is. Then we want to give it instructions. I want it to go do deep research. So I don't want it to just write what it thinks would be a good homepage. I want it to write what someone looking at the homepage would think is a good homepage. So I wanted to go do research on those people. What are the industry best practices? I need it to understand the voice of the customer. So where is it going to go find the voice of the customer? Have it go read reviews. Have it go read reviews so that it knows their language. What words are they using? What pain points do they have? What solutions have they tried in the past that didn't work? Have it go do that research so that it can write in a way that's for your customers. The website should make sense to your customers, not necessarily you. We find this is very interesting. Writing a website's hard because, first of all, we talk about our business differently than anybody else because we're the expert. We tend to talk about our business aspirationally as well, what we want it to be, not what it is. We don't talk in client terms. They don't use our language. We use industry jargon, et cetera. So that's all incongruent. And then you also have to write for Google so it knows how to find you and it knows how to serve you as a result whenever people are querying for what it is that you do. So all four of those things need to align. AI makes that actually doable with a prompt like this. So the other thing is you're going to tell it to ask you questions. Ask me follow-up questions. And it does. It's going to ask around five quick questions that you're then going to answer. Take that advice in anything you're doing as well. Hey, here's what I'm trying to do. What are 5 to 10 things that you would need to know that would make the outcome or your output better? It's going to tell you, it's going to give you those things. You're going to answer those questions. And then you're going to say, now write me a more detailed prompt that allows you to give the very, very best output. Help me help you. If we do that, you'll get much, much, much better output than if you're doing something like this over here on the left. And then you're giving it requirements. What does done look like? What are the homepage draft requirements? And then you're going to tell it how to format, the formatting instructions, and then how to structure it, and then the deliverables, and then you tell it to begin. So big difference between the prompt on the left, the prompt on the right. The prompt on the right will give you incredible output. Incredible. We actually just shared it with a client earlier today. Here's some other ideas for you, but again, it's not as simple as saying suggest improvements for my web page with gap analysis. You want to ask it, what do you need to know? You need to tell it to go look at the other sites that are in your industry and determine what they're talking about and what you aren't. You can do an SEO audit right from the tool. But again, you have to tell it to go out and look at this stuff, not just give you, otherwise it's just going to give you very generic, like kind of conversion rate optimization type stuff, like make sure your buttons are bright or it's formatted nice. It's going to be very generic that aren't necessarily relevant or specific to your site. Analyze my social posts. We actually love doing this. We'll get a list of we'll export all of the post on LinkedIn or Facebook with all the metrics and then upload that and then say, what are the commonalities? What insights can you give us? Can you deconstruct some of the higher performing posts and tell us what the secret sauce is? What's the formula? And how can I recreate that success again with a different topic? Is there a template to that? Is there a framework around why that worked? And then the data enrichment, this is a little off scope of today's talk. However, it's something that we need to know is available. We use a tool called, I forgot Extrovert. Extrovert actually helps us respond to relevant posts or comment on posts on LinkedIn so that our content is seen. Our goal over on LinkedIn is to help us, instead of going to market, which is wishful, we want to go to network. It's what we would do in person. It's why we're all in EA, right? We're in AEA or IEA. We're in these organizations so that we can expand our physical network. Well, we can do the same thing online. We got to make sure that we're in the right rooms online, though. And that means connecting with the right people to expand that network, not just your college buddies that you don't talk to anymore and whoever you worked with at your old job. You want people that you want your network to be valuable to you and them, right? So we use these data enrichment tools, Clay, Extrovert, Octave, to help us craft relevant messaging and a path to those folks that's serendipitous and helpful to them rather than stocky and just sort of wishful. Think about traditional cold outbound where you're just sending thousands of emails or whatever to people that you would hope would do business with you, but they won't even open the email. It's spam. So conclusion. So in immediate next steps, because I do want to open it to questions. Why does any of this matter? Because AI has already impacted traffic to your websites by at least 20 to 30% and going up. Number one, I want to tell you that's okay. It's happening to everybody. But we need to understand why that is and how to use the time creating the content that used to get that traffic, how to use that better. And hopefully we've done that. The research tools, Perplexity, Notebook LM, all of the major models now have a deep research button as well if you have a paid version. And you would click on that if you wanted to do more Perplexity style deep research. Deep research inside of ChatGPT is incredible. It might look at 100 or more resources, and then I like how it formats it whenever it sends it back over as well, all with citations. So that's a different search that's a different query than prompting if we wanted to do deep research. And then content creation, these simple prompts for immediate results. Really, what I wanted to get across there was ideas about what to prompt, and then sort of a formula or a methodology around having the tool that you're using help you craft the prompts by asking it questions. What do you need? How can I help? What would make this better? What would be a better prompt than here's what I'm trying to accomplish? What would be a good prompt to give you the best likelihood of good output? And then I would say your next step is, there, I'm a bit like a fire hose. I know that there was a lot of information in here. Um, Apply just one tip. Go use Notebook LM. Go create a podcast out of an article or a video that you don't want to watch that's like just to make it simpler or easier to consume. Um, go go try to do create a better prompt than just, hey, write me a blog article, because that's going to give you a really bad AI written blog article. Um, Try to take an idea and create a really solid prompt about it. Just apply one of these tips in the next week or so. So at this point, I will open it to questions. Let me skip over to the next slide. So I did create a sheet here. Let me see if I can drop that in the chat here. Just a little cheat sheet of everything that we talked about, the tools and all like that. So let me do that. I'll drop it in the chat for y'all. Do we have any questions?
We do have some questions here, Adam. That was great, by the way. And you're right, it is a bit of a fire hose situation. I feel like
It's a
everything with
lot.
AI is. What is the difference between research and deep research?
So research, I was just saying, is sort of a broad term. Using the tool to help you do research. Deep research is literally a button that you press. It's a component inside of the chat where you query it and you say, I want you to go do deep research on this. I'm not prompting you to do something. I'm asking you to do deep research. And at that point, it will kick over um, to a different sort of a different methodology. And it's going to go, I've seen it do 120 different resources. And depending on the model that you're using, it will actually show you its thought process, which is really cool, because how would we research something? We would look at something and then that would give us more questions. Or every time I give an answer, it's probably going to prompt more questions. Well, that's what it's doing. It's sort of that chain of thought reasoning. And so when it goes and looks at something, it's like, okay, that's relevant, that's relevant, that's relevant. Now I have more questions, so it'll do another query and come up with more resources that it then wants to add into what it's going to display as its output. So when I said research, I just meant in general doing research. Deep research is literally a component or a feature inside of the majority of the large language models. And I was mostly referencing ChatGPT's deep research. It's a little button that you press before you hit send on your query.
Great, that makes sense. Any other questions? Feel free to drop it in the chat or just unmute yourself. We're a casual enough bunch. You can just chime in.
I have a question.
Sure, Todd.
Yeah, Adam, great talk. Yeah,
Thanks.
our company is Crosha Design. We're a full service digital media and graphic design firm, and
Yeah.
these AI tools are terrific for creating, as you're saying, composing letters, proposals, presentations. Even in the Zoom AI companion is great for meetings and and recording
Oh yeah.
notes
The
and so
meetings
forth.
is a huge, yeah, it's a big one. The meeting
Yeah.
notes. Yeah.
So, but for AI for creating visual art, which I do, but doing more of that, I've used Adobe Stock AI and
Hmm.
iStock AI generator and so forth. But when you're saying you put in the text and the prompts to create these images that are quote created out of thin air. Well, they're not actually. They have to be pulling it from something, and so all these images have been input into the data. And one of the things that's been coming up is that concerns over copyright infringement because
Sure.
I know some artists that have been complaining, saying that their art has been sampled, and they manipulate it, and so there is that issue in the future. I know there's
There
already
is.
lots of lawsuits that are even from writers and such, so that's a concern. But what I see is helpful in our when I'm creating a video or some kind of a visual art, it's a tool to as a starter. So it'll create an
Hmm.
image, and then I'll usually take that and modify it. But it's still, they say that it's the license is there and there's no problem. But I think in the future that this is going to be an issue um, regarding creating visual art.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And thanks for bringing that up because the ethics portion of this is honestly a whole other talk. You're absolutely right. It's, but we already do that. We already do that on some level. This is just making it easier. What do they say? Great artists steal or copy or whatever. I mean, it's all a conglomeration of our previous context. What was Sons of Anarchy based off of? It was based off of what Hamlet, a Shakespeare play. So art does recycle. This is just making it easier and creepier. I agree. It's going to be an issue. It's absolutely going to be an issue because it had to make it from somewhere. I mean, if you think about one of the first models of that came up for the actual imagery was uh, Stable Diffusion, and it's the way it even works is it takes an image and then adds static to it and then rebuilds it into something different that it diffuses the original image and then recreates something new from that, but it's starting from something original. And then who owns these things that are created by the AI models? Right now they say that you can't own something that was created from AI. I expect that's probably going to change or get more murky and unclear as well. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Todd. That's
Yeah, sure.
definitely a thing for sure.
All right, any other questions or comments for Adam? Adam, do you want to put your contact information in the chat so people can reach out to you if something else comes up?
Absolutely. Let me drop my LinkedIn in there.
That was great information. I was taking notes and can't wait to try out the notebook LM. I'm worried my teenagers are gonna be onto all this stuff pretty soon, right?
Man, oh man. I mean, and it's just gonna. I mean, today's the worst that it's ever gonna be, right? And it's goofy. It's goofy to think about. Todd brings up the digital art and whatever, but if you have a chance, there's a bunch of videos that just hit from Google had their big event last week and they dropped, I think it's called VIO or VEO. That is their video model. And then the studio that you're able to use that you can use to create using that model is called Flow. And the videos that they have dropped, they call it Uncanny Valley where anything that's being created like with human where they're talking or interacting it just doesn't feel right. There's something like you can't exactly say what it is. It's just kind of funky feeling and it kind of gives you the ick. But the videos coming out of Flow and Vio do not have that uncanny valley feeling at all. It's incredible. I I don't. It's going to get more and more confusing what's real and what isn't, which is again a concern.
For sure. Any other questions for Adam?
It just off of that topic, Adam, we were saying it's just amazing that well, in social media now that you can create voice recognition and you can take someone's face and make it feel so real that you're saying, what is this person? Did they actually say that? Or
Right.
that's, talking about fake news, but yeah, so
Yeah.
that's kind of a scary territory we're going into.
It is, so I mentioned that notebook LM where you can have that audio created with the podcast. Think about this. What if you downloaded the transcript and then you use something like 11 Labs and actually added your own voices to that? So now I can create a podcast in about 15 minutes with my own voice that I had nothing to do with. I didn't do any of it. That's crazy.
Yeah. But there's a lot of positive too. So
Absolutely. I mean, if we're using it for good, it does help us ideate, iterate, get it to your point, especially with the images, getting to an MVP quicker. So I can get to a new idea much faster and then go create it in Photoshop or AI or Illustrator, whatever it is that you're using, Adobe Illustrator, AI, not AI.
Adam, my name's Ira Eichenfield. How are you today?
Hey, Ira, I'm doing good. Thanks.
Great presentation. I have a quick question.
Sure.
I know this is opinion only, but what do you think is going to be the stopgap to help prevent what you just talked about?
What's going to be I don't know. So what I think is going to happen, so didn't it already come out that there's going to be supposed to be no legislation around this or no restrictions around it for 10 years. But what I think will end up happening is that'll be consumer driven. Where regulation initially happens is driven by the consumer usually, and it's generally around transparency. So I think a good best practice to get in the habit of is explaining how you're utilizing AI in your business. And if we all start there, there will be some form of self-regulation. And hopefully we never get to a point where it has to be blanketed, because that's where the creativity completely goes away. My suggestion is transparency, and I think that the end consumer is going to demand it. If any of you folks are into like cybersecurity or anything like that, you've heard of like SOC audits, SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3, high trust, NIST, that sort of thing. Those are all really done not because the company that has to get certified in it wants to do it. It's because their consumer, their customer demands to know how their data is being handled, and is it being handled by a set of parameters and standards. And so that's where that industry came from. So I think that's probably where we're going, and it has to start with transparency. How are we handling your data? What different LLMs are we using? Are they paid versions or not? Is the content that we're creating, is it 10%, 50%, 80% utilizing AI? Or is it all human driven? And if it is human driven, are folks going to be willing to pay for that? As a marketer, we're the first budget that goes usually, right? So this is just one more way that the end consumer is going to be able to justify that our prices should be much lower because we're just using AI, which is not really true. So I think transparency is where it starts, and then demanding some form of, I want to know how you're utilizing it. If I'm interacting with you, I want to know how that looks.
Yeah. Thank you. Good. Yeah.
Kim, I'll answer your question. What happens to the joy of what we do? Yeah, I hear you. I do. There's a tipping point, I think. Right now, for me, I love the technology, and I love the capability, but we by no means are replacing the creativity of the human. We're using it to help us get through that creativity faster. One thing that I just mentioned that I didn't mention in the presentation was iteration. Utilizing the AI to iterate different forms of what we should create faster. getting to different ideas by combining those things. You know, we if we're doing like mission statement work, something like that, we can iterate through different concepts so much faster than if we're just simply whiteboarding it and then getting to the final answer and then letting the humans do what we do, where that joy is created. I don't want to kill the joy either, Kim. I want to look at this as a quicker way to get to MVPs, and to help evaluate what we have created, and then hopefully free up more time from the mundane parts of what we do, and utilize more of the time to do the joyous things of what we do.
Great answer. Thank you, Adam. Okay, so John says he wants to watch the replay and digest this a bit more before asking questions. I get that. Yeah, so I've already connected with Adam on LinkedIn. I hope everyone will do the same. And would love to have you back again, Adam. This sounds like a really hot topic that members need more of.
Yeah, thanks for the
anytime.
talk.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, might like to talk to you about speaking at the conference in Detroit if you'd be interested in that.
I would be.
Very good. Very good. Okay, well, everyone have a great day. And thanks for joining us today. And we hope to see you next month.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Adam.
Bye.